Welcome, dear students, and today we are going to learn about asthma. Asthma is a disease of the airways and it is characterized by increased responsiveness of the tracheobronchial tree to a variety of stimuli, resulting in widespread spasmodic narrowing of the air passages, which may be relieved spontaneously or by therapy. It is mostly characterized by wheezing. Wheezing is the hallmark symptom of asthma, shortness of breath, chest tightness, coughing, and it responds to bronchodilators. In this, the airways they get narrowed in the response to a trigger like allergen, cold air, exercise, or emotional stress. We can say asthma is an episodic disease. It is very common and prevalent worldwide. In US, almost 4% of the population suffers from asthma. It occurs in all age groups, but 50% cases develop it before the age of 10 years. In adults, both sexes are affected equally, but in children, the ratio is 2:1 for males to female ratio. Now, suppose this is your normal bronchi. Okay, if you are suffering from asthma and if you come in contact with an allergen, at that time your bronchi it becomes like this. You can see the bronchial wall is thickened as well as the mucus production is also increased in this air. Okay, so we can say if this is the section of your artery in normal case, then in case of asthmatic patient the lumen of the air passage it is narrowed. Okay, so automatically as the air passage is narrowed, less air is taken in by the patient and the patient he suffers from shortness of breath. Okay, and due to this narrowing, there is the hallmark symptom of wheezing is experienced by the person. Okay, so during the asthmatic attack the symptoms developed due to the narrowed airway, and the patient he also feels tightness in the chest, and there is inflamed or thickened airway, and also the mucus secretion is increased. Now, what are the symptoms of asthma? The most common signs and symptoms of asthma include tightness in the chest, wheezing, coughing, rapid and shallow breathing, anxiety, lack of endurance, pale color, and tachycardia. Now, let's take a look towards the etiology. In some cases, it is characterized by chronic respiratory impairment. In others, it is marked by acute exacerbation of asthma, and which is referred to as asthmatic attack. Now, when a person, we can say, is going to suffer from asthmatic attack, is when he feels sudden constriction in the chest, difficulty in breathing, and wheezing. Severe attack can lead to unconsciousness or even death due to respiratory arrest. Okay, so the symptoms are rapid breathing, shortness of breath, pale and sweaty face, tightness in the chest, blue lips, tightness in neck muscles, choking, difficulty in talking, anxiousness, severe wheezing, and spasmodic cough. The etiology for asthma includes environmental allergens, mostly the house dust mites, animal allergen, especially of cat and dog, cockroach allergens and fungi, viral respiratory tract infections, exercise, hyperventilation, chronic sinusitis or rhinitis, aspirin or NSAIDs, use of beta adrenergic receptor blockers, obesity, environmental pollutants, tobacco smoke, irritants, which mostly include household sprays, paint fumes, emotional factors, or perinatal factors. Okay, so these are the triggering factors for asthma. Now, asthma it is of three types. The first is extrinsic asthma, and it is caused due to allergen. Okay, so it is the most common form, and it begins in the early childhood or early adult life. The person who has personal or family history of preceding allergic diseases such as rhinitis, urticaria, or infantile eczema can suffer from extrinsic asthma. Here, the patient is going to show hypersensitivity to various extrinsic antigen substances or allergens. There are increased level of IgE in the body. It is again of two types: acute immediate response. The mast cells on degranulation release mediators like histamines, leukotrienes, prostaglandins, platelet activating factor, etc. These causes bronchoconstriction, edema, mucus hypersecretion, and accumulation of eosinophils and neutrophils. The second is late phase reaction. Here, It follows the acute immediate response and is responsible for prolonged manifestations of asthma. It is mostly caused by excessive mobilization of the blood leukocytes that include basophils along with eosinophils and neutrophils. This further releases the mediators and accentuate the above mentioned effect. The second type is intrinsic asthma, also called as idiosyncratic or non-atopic. It develops in the later age of the life. Here, the person has no personal or family history. The serum level of IgE is normal. It is developed after upper respiratory tract infection by the viruses. It has got no recognizable allergens. There is drug hypersensitivity sensitivity mostly to aspirin. Now, the third type is the mixed. Features do not mix into two main types. The patients who develop asthma in the early life have strong allergic component, while those who develop the disease late tend to be non-allergic. Either type of asthma can be precipitated by cold, exercise, and emotional stress. Okay, so these are the, it is a differentiation based on type of asthma. Now let's take a look towards the pathophysiology. During an asthmatic attack, the inflamed airways, when they get in contact with an trigger factor like smoke, dust, or pollen, they are going to show three types of reactions. The first is it is going to produce excessive mucus. Secondly, it will undergo spasm, and thirdly, it will show inflammation. Now, all of these three reactions, they result into narrowing of the airways, and due to this narrowing of the airways, there is difficulty in breathing, and finally, we can say that the patient is suffering from asthmatic attack. Now, let's take a look towards the pathogenesis. When the dendritic cell present in the body, it comes in contact with an antigen. At that time, this dendritic cell, it is going to activate the naive T lymphocytes. Okay, because of this naive T lymphocyte activation, this T lymphocytes, they get activated into two forms. The first is Th1 response and the second is Th2 response. Okay, now in Th1 response, um, some chemical mediators are released, and due to this, your body is going to show cell mediated immunity and neutrophilic inflammation. Also, this Th1 response is activating factor for Th2 response. Now, when the Th2 response is sensed, at that time interleukin 4 and 13 is released, and it is responsible for further release of IgE. Interleukin 9 and 4, they are going to activate the mast cells. Interleukin 3 is going to activate the basophils. Interleukin 3 and 5, it is further going to activate the eosinophils. Now, all this cells activation, they further release some mediators of inflammation like histamine, prostaglandins, leukotrienes, and enzymes. Now, these all mediators, they are responsible for bronchial hyperresponsiveness and airway obstruction, which ultimately leads to the symptoms of asthma. Now, the early phase, what happens in the early phase, when the person inhales the antigen, the sensitized mast cells on the mucosal surface, they are going to release the mediators. Histamine, it is responsible for bronchoconstriction or increased vascular permeability. Prostaglandins, they are responsible for bronchoconstriction and vasodilation. Leukotrienes, CD4, C4, D4, E4, they are responsible for increased vascular permeability, increased mucus secretion, and bronchoconstriction. Direct subepithelial parasympathetic stimulation is responsible for bronchoconstriction. Now, what are late phase manifestation? It starts from 4 to 8 hours later than the early phase. Mast cell is going to release additionally cytokine. There is influx of leukocytes and eosinophils. They are particularly important and they exert a variety of effect. So this is what happens. This is your normal airway, and this is the airway during asthmatic airway, and this is the airway during the attack. So you can see the normal airway, it has got thin vessel thickness, but in asthmatic it is increased, and during the attack it is high. So the, you can see the lumen is also getting narrowed. Morphological features are The mucus plug, it contains normal or degenerated respiratory epithelium which forms twisted strips, and these are called as Kirschmann spirals. The sputum usually contains numerous eosinophils and diamond-shaped crystals which are derived from eosinophils and are called as Charcot-Leyden crystals. The bronchial wall shows thickened basement membrane of the bronchial epithelium, submucosal edema, and inflammatory infiltrate consisting of lymphocytes and plasma cells with prominence of eosinophils. The changes of bronchitis and emphysema may supervene, especially in case of intrinsic asthma. Okay, so here you can see this spiral is the Kirschmann spiral, and this is the Charcot-Leyden crystals. Now, how you are going to diagnose? First, you will have to say detect some sign and symptoms. The first one is mostly the wheezing. Okay, you have to see if the patient has experienced any type of wheezing during the attack. You have to go for a history curve, uh, which mostly worsens at the night. Recurrent wheeze, recurrent difficulty in breathing, recurrent chest tightness. You can also go for asking questions like if you have a worse cough during night and you mostly if you wake up, then symptoms occur or worsen if there is seasonal changes. The patient also has eczema, hay fever, or family history of asthma or atopic diseases. The symptoms occur or worsen in the presence of animals with fur, aerosols, chemicals, changes in temperature, domestic dust mites, drugs, exercise, pollen, respiratory infections, smoke, strong emotional expressions. If the symptoms they respond to anti-asthma therapy, then you can say that the patient has asthma. The non-specific diagnostic test mostly include full blood count, which is also CBC, and differential count. There is increased number of eosinophils. You can go for arterial blood gases. Sputum test can also be done to detect the number of eosinophils, and you can also go for chest X-ray. The specific test includes respiratory function test, mostly the peak expiratory flow, spirometry, exercise test, histamine methacholine, bronchial provocation test, trial of corticosteroids, ray hyperinflated. The reversibility test includes that this test is done to see whether the obstruction can be relieved by the use of a short-acting bronchodilator like salbutamol. If improvement of 15% or more is observed, then the patient is asthmatic. However, in severe chronic disease or patient who has treated with long-acting bronchodilators, there is little reversibility is observed. The peak expiratory flow rate test is very simple and cheap. The subject take full inspiration, then blow out forcefully into the peak flow meter. It is best used to monitor progression of the asthma and its treatment. To access possible occupational asthma, the PEFR value varies with age, sex, and height. The maximum rate of air breathed out as hard as possible through a measuring device is called as peak flow meter. Okay. Now the spirometry test, it is a single best diagnostic test for patients with airflow limitation. It measures the volume of the air blown out against time, gives more specific information about lung function. A value is calculated for the amount of air blown out in 1 second forced expiratory volume or FEV1. This is divided by the total amount of air blown out until all air is expired. That is forced vital capacity or FVC. FV1 divided by FVC, it is mostly expressed in case of percentage value. In asthma, the readings will be reduced returning to normal between episodes. Exercise test is specifically done in the children. The peak flow reading is measured beforehand. The patient is asked to run for 6 minutes and so that the heart rate increases to more than 160 beats per minute. The test is positive if the child cannot run or use cold air, challenge or is isocaponic or hyperventilation aerosol challenge with hypertonic solution. After exercise, you have to take the readings in between the intervals of 5, 10, and 15 minutes. The patient is diagnosed positive for asthma if there is fall in peak flow of 15% or more after exercise. The management of chronic asthma mainly aims to recognize the asthma, to abolish the symptoms, to restore normal or best possible long-term airway function, and to reduce the morbidity and prevent mortality. Now, what are the approach? Okay, you have to educate the patient and the family. You have to avoid so that they can avoid the precipitating factors. Then you can use low effective dose of convenient medications with minimizing short and long term side effects. You can go for assessment of severity and response to treatment. The treatment is specifically classified as relievers, preventers, and emergency treatment. Short-term relief and occasional attacks can be dealt with bronchodilators. Mild persistent disease, okay, like more than 2 attacks per week, they can be treated with long-dose glucocorticoids, leukotriene modifiers, mast cell stabilizers, or theophylline. And if the patient has very severe daily attacks, then it can be treated with high dose of glucocorticoids, long acting alpha 2 agonist, leukotriene modifier, or theophylline. The relief medications, they give you a symptomatic control of episodes of wheezing, and fast acting bronchodilators are used for the same. These are available as MDI, meter dose inhalers, okay, and this mostly is used for young patients. And you can also go for nebulizers. The relievers include short-acting selective beta-2 adrenoceptor agonist, salbutamol, terbutaline, albuterol, levobuterol, less selective adrenergic agonist, epinephrine, anticholinergic medications, mostly ipratropium bromide. The preventive medications include inhaled glucocorticoids, leukotriene modulators, mast cell stabilizers, anticholinergic agents, methylxanthines, antihistamines, omalizumab, and long-acting alpha-2 agonist. So this was all about asthma. Thank you for listening.